Hello everybody and welcome back to day 2 of the Pokemon Regional Championship Cologne. We are very excited to bring you even more fun of the Pokemon trading card game today. My name is David Hochmann, I'm joined by Connor. How are you doing, Connor?
I'm good. It was a good night yesterday. We had a nice kind of easy day. We finished on time. We had some good food.
Alright.
I had some good food.
Yeah.
And a good night's rest. And I'm really excited to kind of get into the the business end of the tournament today. Like there were a lot. This is stacked day 2.
So day 1, of course, people who weren't prepared that well usually don't make it into the next day. Now we are a refined player pool. All of them play very strong decks. Most of them should be on the top of their game. But we are going to show you, first of all, about the metagame. What kind of decks did people bring to this Pokemon Regional Championship here in Germany? Let's look at the graph here.
I mean, it's not surprising, is it? Like, immediately, you look at this and... Okay, no, that's not true. There's a few surprises in here. But it's pretty much as expected. Like, if you talk to any of the top players coming into this tournament, Reshiram Charizard and stuff was,
so
like, the top pick.
One of the strongest cards in the current format is just Welder. It's an amazing card. You can attach 3 energy and 3 basic energy in a single turn. So you have 2 different builds of Reshiram Charizard, which we split. So 27% of the whole tournament did use a Reshiram Charizard deck with Welder, and 20% of all the players use it with Ninetales, and then the remaining 7% were just, we call it greens. It's a greens exploration. It's a supporter card that you can only use if you don't have any abilities in play. So the builds work very differently, but both of them had quite a good showing. I'm very interested to see the day 2 metagame as well, how that changed. Maybe you can see that Ninetales and greens are about as strong, and it's about the same percentage in day 2, or maybe one of the two has a higher percentage in day 2 as well.
Well,
so
I think by and large, people who play the Ninetales and ability version have a more consistent build, because you have things like the Dene, you have things like Ninetales. You're not having to make cuts and sacrifices as much with your list, because everything gets up on board, which means that in a format where Reset Stamp is such a key card in so many decks, you kind of proof yourself, or like you kind of like resistant to this simply because your board state is what's winning you games more often than not, rather than having the large hand and all the resources available. Greens, if you don't get the chain of greens early and like you miss your early greens turns, you're kind of stuck. Also, we know this is a welder deck. Like a lot of the decks on this list are welder decks, but this is a case of if you have to play greens, that's not a welder. And if it's not a welder, now
you don't get the energy.
Like how are you hitting your turn 2 double plays?
On the other hand, the greens build can have very strong first turns. You can use the Volcanion to charge up energy, so it works in a kind of a different way. Speaking of Welder, if you count the Welder decks together, I think they're more than 50%. So with the Mewtwo and Mew, most of them, pretty much all of them play Welder as well. And then also you have the Blacephalon deck. Of course it can use Beast Ring, but
technically the Whimsicott deck that made it as well also plays Welder.
Oh, good grief.
That's if we're going to be really technical about this. But also, can I just point out, there was enough Whimsicott that it actually becomes its own category and not other.
Yeah, I said every deck that was played more than 10 times I put on the graphic, and Whimsicott just made the cut.
Mad lads.
And then also you have... Actually, what I thought was very interesting is that everything from Malabar and above was all like about the same percentage. Like if you look at the slices, they all are very similarly sized. So you have always like about 100 people playing Malamar, Blacephalon, Mewtwo, Mew, Pikachu, Zekrom. And then of course the 200 people who played Reshiram and Charizard. So the metagame looks very refined. I was actually expecting a little bit less Gardevoir Sylveon. It's a really weird deck. It just won the last regional championship in Sheffield, so a lot of people were kind of considering like, should they tech against it?
It's
or
like when
not?
Stall does well, right? Like if Stall does well, people tech against Stall, so Stall is bad, even though it just did well. And it seems like and Gardevoir is exactly the same.
Yeah, but also a lot of people actually thought like, well, Gardevoir won, but he just got lucky with the matchups. So it doesn't really matter too much. However, we still saw a lot of Pikachu Zekrom using the Lysander Labs. and also other decks utilizing some way to play around Gardevoir, but there is no Fairy Charm Fire.
Yeah.
So for Reshiram Charizard,
I'm quite glad about
they
that,
have
to be honest.
completely. Nah, I don't
I want it
know.
to have some weakness.
Yeah, just give Fairy Charm for every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Fairy Charm Rainbow is what we need.
Yeah.
Just attach it. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, you don't get any damage anymore.
But
Alright, so.
But I think we're more or less ready with the game. And we talked about having like the top cut of players. We've managed to do that here for game 1. And they're actually playing the second and third most popular decks between them.
Well,
admittedly,
I mean,
one of
if
them.
you can, if
yeah.
you can say Tort's deck is popular at all, since he's the only person who plays this deck, and he's undefeated currently.
Yeah, 9-0.
From what I heard, his first time going undefeated in Swiss. I mean, it seems like you can't beat this deck. Like, what can you do against it?
I'm still hesitant to say this because 9 times out of 10, if Toad plays a deck and it does well, it's because Toad did well.
Yeah, and then also, of course, your opponent. None of these opponents expected pretty much any of these cards, I think. However, now it's day 2. Everyone knows what Todd's deck is all about, so he will play against Germany's Philipp Schulz.
And I think they're more or less ready, so we can cut over to the table as they're finishing preparing. But yeah, Philipp Schulz, who's playing the Pikachu Zekrom that he has told us he loves so much, and a deck that he basically says, I always win the mirror, always win the mirror. Unfortunately, this isn't a mirror. This is Mewtwo with Shedinjas.
Yeah,
it's
so
not really what you're expecting.
This will be very interesting. So I'm looking forward to the whole thing. Philipp only lost 1 game yesterday. He had a really strong run. Always loyal to his good friend. Basic lightning energy, actually.
He does like a lightning.
When you ask Philipp what his favorite deck is, like his favorite card, he's like, oh, basic, either basic darkness or basic lightning energy. Currently, I think it's the lightning energy. So he will not betray his best friend. So the matchup, like we just said, Pikachu Zekrom against this very interesting new Mewtwo and Mew deck.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I had a quick look around the hall because obviously there's a cup going on. It's day 2. A lot of players will play the cup in day 2, and had a look around, and there's an awful lot of people trying to build this deck. Whether people have managed to get the exact 60, I don't know, because it's quite a hard 60 to put together.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of weird counts. But I did have a little look around, and there's a fair few attempts at it. Because Tord is just known for making very interesting decks. And very fun decks. Well, no, like fun and often very strong decks. They're not necessarily easy to play, and I don't think this is either, because like when you choose to attach your Shedinja and things like that, actually are quite a big call, because you don't always just throw it onto the first Mewtwo. You might want to go, well, this first Mewtwo's fine, I want to take it on the next Mewtwo to force more prize cards to be taken at awkward times.
Yeah, and also, well, there are a lot of interesting things in this deck that are very, like for us, just looking at this written deck list, kind of difficult to understand. So, for example, he uses the Greninja GX. The GX attack allows you to choose a benched opponent's Pokemon, just put it back into their hand. There is certainly a very important reason he plays it. Can't really think of it off the top of my head. And here we see it actually being priced on Tor's side, but more importantly, on Philipp's side, his Thunder Mountain is in the price card. It's a very crucial card to get the turn 1 Tech Bolt GX, Tech Bolt attack. To charge up your
Full Blitz.
Oh, Full Blitz. Oh yeah, sorry. I mean Full Blitz.
But they're underway.
To charge up your Pokemon,
so as we get started, it's a fairly typical start. This is what we're going to see, I think, for like all the games that we see in this series. It will look like a kind of Mewtwo, Jirachi. Let's go. But Philipp, fairly good start. Unfortunately, not having the lightning energies to discard off that first radar. That's the dream opening. You want to have the radar to get your board set up, but having double lightning energy is even better.
I think he had even 3 radar in his hand. Not really what you want to see. So in the first turn, usually what you try to accomplish is going for the Full Blitz turn 1 to charge up your benched Pokemon GX. And since the electromagnetic radar allows you to search your deck for 2 lightning Pokemon GX, it's a very good card. Usually you go for a Dedenne and then also the Pikachu Zekrom that you're going to charge. You need to find something else at some point during that game. And for Philipp it will certainly be a Tapu Koko Prison Star. However, like Connor just mentioned, you need lightning energy in the discard pile for that. Philipp wasn't able to put any in the discard pile so far. His stadium is in the prize card, so he would need to use Tapu Koko for 2, then an energy switch, energy from hand, a way to get the Jirachi out of the active spot, which seems very unlikely right now, especially with this hand he currently has, but let's see where this is going.
Yeah, it's going to be the predicted Dedenne plus attacker. Sometimes you go for the Raichu here, like depending on like certain matchups, like that might be your better option, but by and large, early game, you're going, no, I need to get my full blitz online so I can start charging everything up. And yeah, I like this. Like, I kind of dislike discarding the one plant, but he is playing multiple copies. No, he's only playing the one copy of Power Plant. But Toad's list already plays like many counter stadiums.
I mean, to be fair, he can't use the plant now because he really needs to use it, the Energy X, to get the full effect. Also, now his hand is Pikachu Zekrom, Dedenne, and the custom catcher, so if he wants to, he can bench the Zekrom, play custom catcher. If he's lucky, draws into an energy card to discard off that Dedenne change. So he can use the Tapu Koko Prison Star this turn to maybe get a turn 1 full blitz as well. We will see about that.
Yeah, he's got an aggressive start.
Like I said, 3 electromagnetic radar in his discard pile. In his opening hand, without any lightning energy, that's actually really annoying because it's a very easy way to get your lightning energy cards in the discard pile. But yeah, now he is not having that option anymore. Just going for the Zero Aura. Zero, of course, pretty nice card. Allows you to retreat your Pokemon with a lightning energy card attached to it for free. Now we see Philip debating
he's just
whether going for the custom catcher or not.
Yeah, well, he knows he's already got one prized, so like it's not a wasted catcher here. He would have had one of the energies.
Yeah, that would have been pretty nice, but also his hand now not looking too great in general anyway, so we don't know what the next few cards would have been, and you can see in his face that he's not really happy about that.
Yeah.
He got a Lily actually. So
okay, so still has access to a supporter if you can
cool.
thin the hand out.
I mean, now you really just want to draw as many cards as possible, and you have to check the lightning energy. Discarding it now on the off chance of getting maybe Tapu Koko doesn't really seem like it would make a lot of sense. So, but on the other hand, let's see how much he values his resources, since he kind of needs to draw cards now. But also, he has a bunch of cards that he would
he has a switch
to have.
I mean, the thing is that like here, the switch to go into a Dedenne is fairly safe because you're not expecting Mewtwo to get a big first turn knockout very often, because most of the time, even if they can have access to like a turn 1 GX attack for enough to KO this Dedenne, or attack to take care of this Dedenne,
well, I mean,
they were actually going to want to play for the Solgaleo line earlier to set up attackers, especially against a deck that can just take KOs as quickly as Pikachu Zekrom.
Like taking the knockout on Dedenne now, I think the only card that makes it possible would be Macargo, which can deal 200 damage, just discarding 3 energy, but then you discard all energy you have in play. You need to draw it really good. You didn't get away, you didn't knock out any of your opponent's threats, so it doesn't really seem like a too great of a play. But now we see Tort's turn, opening with a Hapu.
Yeah, one of the cards that saw discussion because it's effectively a specific style Sycamore in a weird way of like, instead of discarding your whole hand and drawing 7, you get to basically discard 7 cards and choose 2. More you know, like you look at 7, choose 2, discard the rest. So it's like a weird Sycamore-y kind of thing of like, you're going to burn a load of resources from your deck, which is not always a bad thing, because in this deck you want to have things in the discard pile anyway, and also dig. And it's a 7-card dig, like old Sycamore was, or old Juniper, or old...
Isn't it 6 cards?
It might be, yeah, it could be 6 actually.
Oh yeah, fair enough. But no matter what, there actually used to be the same card for 5. I think Sage's Training. I actually remember Philip playing that as well. Harpo a little bit stronger. You discard more, but in a format like this, well, especially in a deck where Mewtwo, you really need to get your Pokemon GX in the discard pile early. However, you can't use Welder the same turn, which is kind of unfortunate. Now you don't have double colorless energy cards, so you can't use it turn 1 Solgaleo anymore. Philip already had his turn, but to be fair, Philip's turn wasn't too great. Well, he got the energy down, so next turn he can use Call of the Dance of the Ancients.
Yeah,
and,
actually, we could see this Toad at this point go for a very similar looking play as he did yesterday, where if he hits 120 with any of his attackers into this Dedenne, he can set it up for the GX attack from the SP or the Oxys and take double knockout on 2 Dedennes per game at some point later on. So because it basically then means to Philip he can't ever play another Dedenne, and since it's kind of apparent that Philip's hand's a little dead, that's a really big deal.
Well, we don't know if his hand is unplayable. We only know that he played the Lily with the last turn he made.
And it was attached pass after that, I think.
No, he attached. Pretty sure he attached before to draw.
Oh
more
yeah,
cards.
sure.
And he played the switch into Dedenne also before he played Lily to draw more cards. He couldn't attack last turn anyway, so now he just needs energy and one energy in the discard pile, one from hand again. Tapu Koko to get this full bits going. However, on Todd's side of the field, we see Ninkada. Very, very interesting card.
Well, so I know, because I've had a chat with various players from the Limitless boot camp before Worlds, and I know everyone thinks their Worlds testing starts like a month or so before, but in reality it starts around about 3 weeks before NAIC. From my memory, I think is when they started discussing a lot of their decks this year. It's actually all in the post on Todd's post on our website, where he kind of details his journey through Pokemon. But he mentions that they had considered Shedinja, hoping it would stay kind of below the radar because they knew that they could basically get a lock-in that your opponent could never break, at which point you're quite happy. So hopefully with that it's going to work out nicely, and they were kind of frustrated that they couldn't play it, but we'll get there because he still gets to use it somewhat. If you're confused about the timer starting, by the way, it's because it was linked to the wrong text file. It's fine. So we see the Reset Hole Marshadow played as well. Really important in this deck on the off chance your opponent's playing multiple copies of things like Power Plant to kind of get it in play early, because you still have access to your draw and your search cards right now. So it means that if they ever do play it down, you can just kind of kick it. One of the cards I'm looking forward to most coming from one of the future sets is, what did we call it in the scans? I can't remember what we called it. But that Cyclone card, the stadium that you play and then immediately kicks the stadium that replaces it, which I think is a really interesting mechanic. And for things like Mewtwo, that's really good because it's like you get double removal of Power Plant with that.
Yeah, you can get rid of one Power Plant. But yeah, let's focus on this game here first.
So
he was able to get the Latios in the discard pile. Latios, very weird card to play around for Pikachu Zekrom. Not always too important, but definitely something to look out for. Philip, he attaches and passes. Not
so his hand is a little dead, I think. It would be the read from Todd.
Now you can see that his hand definitely doesn't really have a lot of great cards to use in here. Unless maybe he just wants to use a Tech Bolt next turn.
Yeah,
but
he might be just going, no, it's fine, actually. I can just kind of slow roll this. Because Todd's turn, he played a lot of cards, but if you actually look at Todd's board state, only the one energy in play. Okay, then Ninkada's down, so Shedinja is live. It's not the most threatening board right now. And if you look at the attackers in the discard pile, a lot of the attackers aren't actually threatening. The Latios is annoying. You have to play around the Latios.
Currently it's not too great. So he uses a GX attack, preventing Philip from using his GX attacks in the future, which is actually pretty nice because if you can use Tech Bolt GX that deals 170 on the bench, so Philip can use it to take a knockout on a Dedenne. Latios GX, of course, main reason I'm pretty sure is the Tech Purge attack. However, Clear Version GX in some situations can help you. And now Philip, in his hand he had Energy Switch, so you can attach Active Retreat, play Energy Switch, use Tech Bolt, deal some damage, get some energy cards online. Neither player used the supporter card in their respective last turns.
Neither player looks particularly happy with their hand either, because when it's attached, I guess you don't get to GX attack from Todd. It's not. Neither player is setting up particularly strongly. Todd only having one more energy attack could then go into Tag Purge, which causes problems for Philip. But instead we're going to see the first 4 blitz of the game from Philip into probably attaching to the Zeraora here, because it gives him an option to get through the Tag Purge from this Mewtwo, so that if Todd chooses to attach to this one, he can just take the knockout with the Zeraora next turn.
Yeah, so given that he gets some electro power, so 4 blades here is 150, Zeraora can do 160, 200. Oh, that's actually 300.
So there's more than enough. So he'd be able to take the knockout that way, so it's probably a case of that's where I expect to see it go, but his hand looks clunky. There's a lot of item cards in that, I think, but none of them are particularly live right now. He has the Absol, which he's choosing to include, mostly for things like Jirachi deck mirrors, Because as soon as you see that they're playing a Jirachi, you throw that thing onto the bench, you go, great, right, your escape boards are kind of meaningless right now, what are you going to do?
Alright, so now Philip, using full blitz, charging up one of his benched Pokemon. Well, I mean, probably one of his benched Pokemon.
He could go active.
He's considering which Pokemon he goes for.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually ending up deciding for Raichu, being able to use paralyzation ability. Pretty sure that's a compromise, because if Todd uses Tech Purge, he can still be paralyzed. So Tech Purge only prevents damage, and then also using Tech Purge means he has to attach another energy active. He can't use any other attacks.
He has no ways of switching his. He's playing copies of Switch, but only the one copy of Switch.
Yeah, and then even like, I think Zapdos could still put in some work here. The Mewtwo and Mew has 120 HP left, if I recall correctly, if I calculated correctly. So in theory, Zapdos could also take the knockout with some Electro Power. So Philip is leaving his options open, expecting Tor to go for maybe not even Tech Purge, but let's see about that. So Tort now discarding his Soul Galeo GX for effect of Giant Hearth. Being able to get 2 Fire Energy in his hand, of course, very crucial play if you have Welder. Not entirely sure if Tort has access to one right now.
Well, he hasn't really got anything he wants to weld it onto, because welding onto the active just means it's attacking to take the KO, means you just get KO'd back, and then there's a Raichu with energy on it threatening you, as opposed to kind of nothing currently on Tord's side. Like this turn, he really needs to go for the Turbo Strike, I think, to set something up.
Yeah. Also, looking at his hand, pretty sure there's not really much he can do. So using the Stadium card here now, thinning out his deck, and he does go for the Lost Purge, I think. Yes, 120 damage, going down. Now being able to get some damage off, but preventing that knockout this turn. So for Philip to take the knockout, I mean, if he runs hot, he could have 2 energy switch and an energy from hand to take the knockout on 0 or completely, destroying towards board. And wait,
he has tag switch.
Oh, tag switch. So he just needs an energy card or a regular. I'm pretty sure there's a regular energy switch.
Doesn't tag switch have to go to the active? I can't remember.
It has to switch from the active.
Yes. Oh, it's an active tag team.
Yeah, and
I just couldn't remember the exact wording.
Pretty sure this is another energy switch in his hand.
Oh, sweet. So it's like
just use the knockout as well. Pretty good play here.
I actually really like that because he disguised it. He could have attached directly to the Zeraora last turn.
No, I think it makes more sense in general, because if you have these cards in your hand, it only helps you if you don't get knocked out. So if you already commit on the Zeraora, then maybe Tord is like, okay, if I just take the knockout active here, then I can force him to attack with Zeraora, then I can get the next attack off Zeraora. But this way, Philip knows, well, if I get Tech Purge, I definitely don't get knocked out. So I can just use this combo. And now Tord's board completely empty from anything. His hand only Fire Energy cards and some Pokemon GX that he might attack with. Kind of ironic that you play a big basic deck, but you still only draw evolution cards stuck in your hand. But we see top deck Pokemon Communication. With this allows him to go for either the Energy X, get a whole fresh hand, or a Mutant Mew, depending on...
That was immediate.
Yeah.
That was right. Okay,
depending on the rest of his hand cards, maybe another play would have been fine. However, you know, you can't... Yeah, well, now I see his whole hand.
It's just Fire and
energy and a Giant Hearth. Nothing you really want to do.
Yeah.
And Philip still has the threat of using Double Catcher to get some damage onto the next Mewtwo and Mew. So Todd really needs to draw some amazing cards.
Yeah, Todd really needs to basically the Data Change into Welder to be able to do anything this turn. And he also needs to hit his one-off switch to get anything active. So it seems like very unlikely he's going to get much going. It's still fine because the Nincada as a prize is not an
also, I was just wondering, you can't use the ability if you're active, right? From the evolution? Ninja Tom? What's it called again?
Shedinja.
Shedinja, yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember. It's good. I'm going to be honest, it's not a card I did a lot of reading of because I thought it was kind of a meme, but apparently Tor disagrees.
Well, yeah, so it seems like, yeah, you can actually use it active, right?
Okay.
So you can use it to retreat, attach it to your Mewtwo and Mew, outplaying Philip's option to just knock out the tag team. Here we see it actually being used active. I think at this point it doesn't make sense to not attach it, because
You
if
may
you
as
just want to
well.
give up a single price attacker, he can still promote his Marshadow from the bench.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see if Tord agrees or disagrees with me.
So whenever Toad decides a thing,
Oh, this is cool.
okay, so he's going no prize card for you next turn.
So let's see if Philip is able to play around this, or if he just...
Well, we know he took a custom catcher from his prize cards, and a double custom
so he
straight
got the
away.
double custom catcher. He can use, you can just retreat with Zero's ability, triggering the attack condition on Raichu and Raichu, not Raichu and Raichu Zekrom, I mean Raichu and Raichu tag team. Tandem shock, 160 damage and paralyzation.
Yeah, the paralysis effect is huge because it's just going to be a big kind of, right, you're stuck now. Like, what are we going to do to get you out of this situation?
Yeah, also Philip here benching his Hooper, playing an Electro Power, discarding Jirachi just for the Giant Hearth. Good way to just get rid of it from your hand. If you want to play maybe a...
He's playing around the stamp. He knows that Tor's playing 2 copies of stamp.
Yeah, exactly. If you play, like if your opponent uses stamp, or if you play Symphia yourself, it's a good way to just get rid of some hand cards. Also, if he gets access to Lily later, it's just one less card, so you can draw one more effectively. Yeah, but now we see the retreat going for Tandem Shock for... and here we see Todd actually scooping.
Yeah, Todd's just gone, right, that's no good.
Yeah, so 190 damage of the Tandem Shock with the Electro Power.
Yeah.
And Paralyzation for Todd. He needed so many cards to still get around that. Good call to just save the time for both players.
And just get on with game 2.
Yeah, and now you see, like, Philip is... This is really weird to say in a situation like this, but Philip is a really good player. You saw, like, the first turns were all completely perfect. He didn't do too much that he needed. He didn't reveal any information. He didn't try to get too much, and everything worked out perfectly. I really like that play with the with the tech switch.
Yeah.
Being able to know, okay, if he uses tech purge, I can do it like this. Reset stamp will not come down. I have 6 prize cards. So he was really maneuvering that pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, there was also the fact that, like, he knew that his attacker after the Pikachu Zekrom was used was going to be the Raichu anyway, so you wanted to power that up. And, like, you kind of win-win there. You either have your backup attacker ready to go, and you can just move it around and start getting the paralysis and the decent damage from Tandem Shock, or you can then also just go, well, okay, I already have all the resources. And the thing is that maybe there was a thing of you could get a better read on the hand from Toad's side, because if he's not playing a lot of cards, it either means he hasn't got any cards he can play, and you have then go, well, why hasn't he got cards to play? Like, what situational cards are in this deck?
Well, it doesn't necessarily, because often you can just, like, if you have a supporter card in your hand, you don't have to play it.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like not in every turn is the best way, but of course if your opponent uses a welder deck, it's very unlikely that your opponent has a welder and he has a stadium in play and just passes.
Yeah,
so you can be pretty sure that there were no supporter cards in Tord's hand. So we see them setting up once more.
Yep, getting ready
Another
for game
Jirachi
2.
start for Philip. That's very nice.
Yep.
Let's see if Tord maybe draws a little bit better this game. We see looks like a mulligan, yes.
That's 3 communications in that opening hand.
The Heart Gold Soul Silver Pokemon communication.
Yeah.
First time this card was printed. Not the first time we had that effect. Pokemon Trader, I think, did the exact same
Those
thing.
prizes are a bit concerning for Philip for the early turns. Having the Prism Star prized, so the Tapu Koko and Prism Star.
Tapu Koko, really crucial card.
Yeah, it means that it's basically no way for him to get this turn 1 full blitz this game, so he's just going to have to settle for turn 2 150. What a shame.
So last turn his stadium was priced, but he went first, so you can still live with that. Now he's going second, so he really needs everything he can get access to. And if your stadium is priced, if you run hot, you can still get the turn 1 full blitz with Tapu Koko, because Tapu Koko takes 2 energy, and then you just need an energy switch. If you only have access to the stadium, there's no way you can get the turn 1 full blitz, as far as I'm concerned, because
straight away, Dedenne start for Tord. That is awful, and Latios prized, awful.
Ouch. So
and another Dedenne.
Having to attach to the active Pokemon, excuse us, we will just transition you really fast.
But yeah, so actually 2 copies of the forfeit Dene are prized, which is worrying. So 1 active, 1 prized is kind of limiting the draw. And like the attacker you want to use after Solgaleo here is also prized. So it's going to be a little bit awkward for Tor to kind of get his plan going.
Oh yeah, Latios being prized. That's actually pretty big. Like playing around Latios is like for like you think at your first time you look at Latios and you're like, whoa, this just is very good against Pikachu Zekrom. Very hard for them to play around. But it's not like you can just attack with Latios every turn because
they have
Pikachu
enough
Zekrom
non-tag.
still has a lot of things that they can use to play around that. They have custom catcher, so you at some point you have to bench another mutant Mew. They can use custom catchers, but Lost Purge is still not the attack. What is the attack called again? Like the attack from Latios GX.
Something
really
Purge, I think it was, but yeah, like
fair enough. So really crucial. It can win you some turns, but if you don't have access to it, that's very unfortunate. So both players are kind of limited by their prize cards, which I find will probably give us an interesting match to see. Well, as long as they have access to supporter cards.
Yeah, you can see like obviously your first search of the game, people traditionally take a little bit longer on because you want to take the time to make sure you double check your prizes. Both of these players are very practiced at this. A skill that a lot of people have to have is knowing what prizes to check when. Like you don't need to check for like every card every time. If you're in a particular matchup, you want to check for certain things. And I think Tord was there going, oh, one of the cards I needed. I just want to double check that I haven't like somehow stuck the sleeves together, like when like they stuck together too much or whatever. But that Latios is definitely prized for Tord.
Yeah, knowing all your prize cards is actually a very big deal, but it's very unlikely for anyone to actually spend time doing that because the slow play rule, like the rules for slow play are no different in the first turn. There's like a common misconception that people think you get more time in your very first turn. This is not actually a rule, so you have to be as fast as in any other turn. Most judges actually give you leeway because everyone knows that this is a thing, and as long as you play quite fast afterwards, it's not a problem too. But yeah, you never have time to check all of your prize cards, even though it will give you a very big advantage. And now we see Philip's first turn. Really weird, just going for like Hooper. He benches his Absol to make the Didenne have 1 retreat card cost more.
If my lip reading of Tord is correct, I think that was a wah from Tord, which anyone who knows and has had a conversation with him about any game has heard him say. But
well, yeah, but I think he can still use Welder on the bench, then attach active retreat, and then use Solgaleo maybe. But again, I think we talked a lot about Hooper being a really rich Pokemon in this matchup because it has resistance.
Yep.
And 130 HP anyway, so for Mewtwo and Mew they can't just take a one-hit knockout on it. So and then also pretty much every of your Pokemon have an ability. So the Hooper usually deals at least 70 damage. It's currently only 50, but this is just because Tord only had.
Yeah, Tord didn't have much of a hand to able to play anything down. But even the 50. Like damage is kind of chip damage towards like it puts it in range of more attacks with your Electro powers. So you'd have to need all 4 Electro powers to still get it with a full blitz. Like if you hit into the Mewtwo with this, but Tord's hand is not good because his turn was Welder for 1 Mewtwo attach, no Cherish Ball for a Mewtwo and attach. There wasn't much going on in that hand, so he's probably going to want to play another Didenne this turn. If he does so. That's another ability. You're starting to get into like chip damage that is relevant on Mewtwo's, whilst Mewtwo's aren't really doing anything particularly relevant back.
Yeah. Also, the current just a little bit damage on the Didenne allows Philip to just take a knockout with it without any electro power needed when he gets a double custom catcher.
That's all the Didenne's used.
Yeah. So
that he has access to.
No Didenne left for Tord anymore. Yeah. Let's see. The Hooper currently deals 70 damage again, given that Tord discards his Marsh Shadow. However, if he, wait, did he Welder on the bench or did he attach?
He attached.
Well, he can use Welder now to retreat, but then he wants to attack with the Solgaleo GX.
Yeah, so Tord, I think he's shaking his head there because if he'd chosen to make the attachment active. He could have then Cherish Balled halved to take an attacker and then welded to the bench instead, but he wanted to play it safe to make sure that at least the Mewtwo was kind of getting powered up in time. But turns out never lucky. So he could have had access to a different attacker this turn if he wanted to.
Yeah, but now we see he does have the church ball. He can now take a look at his deck. I think it's the first time he looks at his deck. And now he's...
no, he searched earlier.
Time, yeah, he already searched. Yeah, so now we see his two Sagaleo are in the deck. A lot of people actually check prize cards for multiple searches. But yeah, he searches for Solgaleo, uses the Giant Hearth to discard it. Now it's in the discard pile, he can use it to attack. Because he has to retreat the active D10, he also has energy to attach. But then he has to bench another Mewtwo, that would make the Hooper deal more damage again. Dealing 90 damage, putting Mewtwo and Mew down to 200 damage? No,
if it does
180.
yeah, 180,
yeah,
which
so
is
that's just one Electro Power and
a full blitz.
Full blitz.
Yep.
So and yeah, very easy for Philip to do that in theory. But looking at his current board, he would need a lot of cards for that. He needed a switch, an energy switch, an energy from hand, and the stadium. A lot to ask for. So
he has the Mewtwo from hand. He's just gonna pay the double retreat cost on Dene. That is. You're like, why are you making me do this?
Yeah, very cool play from Philip.
It's heads up to see that.
Like, yeah. So like expected, he discards the Mars Shadow, uses Solgaleo, dealing 100 damage on this Hooper, and now it's Philip's turn. Let's see if he's able to.
Yeah, Philip.
Well, actually,
his hand wasn't that. Like his turn wasn't that explosive. Turn one, he kind of got a little bit set up, but there's no Pikarom in play. There's no energy in the discard to be able to Coco. Not that he can. Like he's kind of limited. I don't think he's actually had a deck search yet either, which means that he doesn't really know what's prized.
Yeah, but I think it's actually fine for him to just use the Evil Admonition at this point. Yeah, like we said earlier.
Yeah, he's happy to do it, but
if he doesn't have access, I think he has a Lily in his hand, so at least he can
I can see
draw
it
more
Dene
cards.
as well.
But he has a bunch of cards in his hand. Going for the Electromagnetic Radar, now checking his prize cards. This is the information he needs to make a good decision on this turn now as well. So he will see, alright, no Coco for me, one of the Pikachu Zekroms, probably he will check for that as well. Checking for the Stadium, which is in his deck, so...
yeah, and also he's going to be a bit aware that he only has the one Jirachi left, the one extra Jirachi, which means sometimes you're happy to kind of retreat into a Jirachi, just search and let it get knocked out. You just promote the next one and kind of keep searching to be able to kind of eventually get an attack off and like be more consistent and get the tools you need. But with only one left, you have to be a little bit more conservative with that, because if you lose both of your Jirachis, it can be a pain. Because if you ever get stamped, that's how you kind of can play around stamp a little better, by having multiple Jirachi in play that you can retreat into. So he does need to be a little worried here, but it's not the end of the world.
And as you can see, Philip taking a very long time here deciding what to do. He did have an energy switch in his hand, so he might think, well, okay, I can... Maybe if I make everything go right, I can retreat onto Jirachi, energy switch onto the Zekrom, then I lose some hand cards. Can draw more with Lily, then if I need a switch and the Stadium and an energy. It's still a lot to ask for, and I'm not entirely sure what his hand looks like. But I'm pretty sure he's also aware that using Evil Admonition is not too bad. So yeah, let's see if he actually decides to go for the energy switch.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that he can get to the
draw
point.
more cards with the Lily. He also has a... wait, did he have a Dene?
Yeah, I think he has the Dene in it. Yeah, it is there.
And he has a Stadium as well.
No, so in that case, he's probably going to go for the attack.
Yes. Yeah, he has a Stadium, so he just needs an energy card now. Yeah, let's see where this is going. He gets Lilies, so if he doesn't have an energy here, it would be so unlucky. But yeah, he drew it right away, the very first card that came, and check on him. So he can attach active Tag Bolt, and then, well, power up Zero Aura.
Full Blitz first. Tag Bolt later.
Oh yeah, I mean Full Blitz. I actually, when I say Tag Bolt, I actually mean Full Blitz. Yeah, you want to attach energy cards.
Yeah, you want to get the Full Blitz first, get the energy probably onto the Zero Aura.
I mean, currently he doesn't really have a choice. If he benches that Dedenne, then, well,
he can technically choose to put it on the Dedenne if he wanted to.
Well, yeah, and then you can
see some tingly return GXs.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a game where someone uses Dedenne's Jax. Well, actually, maybe I want to see one. But yeah, let's
but not this one.
Let's take a look at how this is going to shape out. He's thinking a lot. Oh, yeah, it's an electromagnetic radar.
Yes, we can just radar here.
So he was thinking about which card to decide. We see Lily is discarded. He also has Erika in his hand.
Yeah.
Both very strong draw cards.
So the Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX probably going to get benched. Basically, go for the same play again, right?
Yeah.
It worked super well last game because it's just a case of, look, this one's powered up and it's going to start causing paralysis and going to start causing problems for you. And I also have a Zeraora that I can potentially do tag switchy stuff into again if you ever get the Latios in the discard pile. That's not happening right now. We know that, but Philip doesn't know that. As far as he knows, Tor just hasn't drawn it yet.
Yeah, but so he has the option again. In the last game, he knew he had the attack switch already in his hand. So for Philip now, it's a little bit more difficult to decide whether it actually makes sense to go for Zeraora or go for Pikachu Zekrom and to see it. It's not too easy of a decision here. Well, we know the Raichu would be very strong here.
Yep.
And then also the stadium will probably get kicked. And yeah, he goes for the Raichu.
Yeah.
It's a very safe play. Even if Tord uses Latios, it's not enough to take a knockout on Pikachu Zekrom. Tord doesn't have access to his GX attack. We see the first Nincada coming down here. One of the few Pokemon that doesn't have an ability in his deck.
Yeah, that's true.
That can be on the bench, but doesn't really matter too much. Hooper's kind of out of the equation right now. So 150 damage on Mewtwo and Mew. That's 120 left. Raichu would just take the one-hit knockout, and if Tord is actually going for something like a Lost Perch, I think.
Yep. No, that's
the GX attack again. Yeah,
that's the GX attack of Lugia.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So the attack names are very difficult. I never announce them, so I always forget how they're called, and sometimes I remember the Japanese name. All right. So if he attacks with Latios, then Philip still has the option to use a custom catcher, and Todd actually only plays one switch. He does have Red's Challenge, so a very interesting card that allows him to search for the switch, but it's still not too likely for him to have it, which means that Philip's custom catcher and then using Raichu play is one of the other ways to play around Tag Purge. Yeah.
Yep. I was just trying to think, is it there maybe a line where he can get into an Espeon Deoxys GX attack? Is there a way that he can do that for multiple a lot of damage? If he does another Solgaleo here.
Yeah, if he gets enough energy in play, then yeah, he can put 200 damage. That would be a knock. Well, he can use 30, and then he can knock out the Jirachi, and then he has 100 left. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
how much
I'm not
HP
sure. It's not seeing a play that takes enough prizes.
Well, how much HP does Absol have? Is it 100 or
110?
100. Yeah, so actually he can draw 3 prize cards with the Deoxys if he has the extra energy, because he can use the first 100, 30 Hooper, 70 Jirachi, 100 on Absol to draw 3 prize cards. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Pretty sure Philip also is aware of that. So this Absol, even though it really annoyed Tord, might become a double-edged sword. Taking bench space for the Energy X, these are, well, 120 damage for the Solgaleo attack. No energy attached. They are very unfortunate that they use the other dice. We see the Erika come down like expected. Yeah, very nice of them to replace the dice here.
Big Erika this turn, drawing quite a few cards for Philip. I don't think from what I saw, it was mostly more items and tools. So no energy to attach to the active to attack. May have to go into the Raichu.
When Raichu uses their GX attack with the extra energy, if they have 5 energy, it's 250, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the scan is up here, 250 damage. With an Electro Power, that's enough to one-hit knockout Mewtwo and Mew. And since no Tag Purge was actually used. So the Zekrom can take the knockout active, attach all the energy to the benched Alolan Raichu. I don't think for Tord there is a way to take a knockout on that.
Nope. Not that I can see right now. So he's just going to full blitz again, get more energy onto the Raichu. And,
and now it's a difficult situation for Tord. He really needs this Shedinja in play to prevent Philip from just using...
Going for the Zeraora.
Raichu. Yeah, like if he can still use lightning right GX. He
Yeah,
just
yeah,
needs
yeah.
energy switch.
Yeah, yeah.
But with the using the Zero Aura allows him to again play around Tag Purge, because in this scenario it would actually take the knockout and prevent GX Pokemon from dealing damage. So it would be a kind of big of a deal. But it's funny that Philip plays around a card that Todd actually doesn't have in his deck at the moment. But of course he can't know.
Well, he has Cherish Ball and then had like Hearth in play, so there's like you'd expect him to have taken it off a Cherish Ball and discarded it. He's had options to do so, so there's maybe a read that you like. Maybe you can go. It's probably not there then, like especially with how quickly you expect players to go
but I mean,
for
on the other hand, there is not really much you could, nothing else. You could attach the energy to, like Hooper doesn't need any energy.
Yeah, I mean, you still put it there
anyway. If you use it active, you would probably get knocked out. And if somehow the active doesn't get knocked out, Philip might actually be able to use some double catcher play to.
Yep, I think that's the more, because I think I saw one catcher in hand for Philip, so it may even be an option.
On here we see Red's Challenge, so a very unorthodox card. Support a card, you can search your deck for. You have to discard 2 and then search your deck for any single card. Very, very cool effect. However, you have to discard a lot, and then you don't really gain card advantage. Pretty much every supporter card gives you card advantage. This is actually one of the very few supporter cards that leave your hand more empty than it was before. Mostly using supporter cards. For example, Hapu, it discards a lot, but at the end you have 1 hand card more than you had before. Welder attaches 2, but then you draw 3, so you have the same amount of cards. And you cycle through, but after red you lose 3 hand cards, you gain 1. But you can choose the 1 card you gain, and this is definitely very important here. Tord using a weak guard energy, so using red you can get that. It discards Pokemon from your hand, so you can use that to discard Pokemon GX, put in the discard pile.
He's just gone for the stamp.
Oh yeah, reset stamp, preventing kind of any shenanigans.
Yeah, this makes that whole double catcher take the KO play a lot less likely, but I think Philip's still kind of okay. He needs an attachment energy switch E-power for the 1 hit.
Yes.
Or he can also just attack again with full blitz, unless I was saying that this Pikachu Zekrom is getting KO'd, but he may still have options around it with things like he can attack with the Zero Aura into the Raichu.
Well, in theory, like I said, if he gets the right cards, he can take the knockout with Lightning Red GX.
Yep.
Otherwise, he can also Tandem Shock. For Tord, it's very difficult. He didn't get the Shedinja, unfortunately.
No.
So now, if Philip actually has all the cards, he can use Raichu to win the game. He looks like he wants to promote.
He's got Switch, Electro Power.
Oh, he has already almost all the cards he needs.
And is that the Dene?
GX, yes.
So he can dig for the first one.
Yeah, so let's see. Let's see what he draws now. If he gets an energy, that would be another Electro Power.
Okay, well that's fine because you can just burn these.
You can dump these. Use Jirachi. If you draw the energy switch of that Jirachi, you're almost there. He gets an Erika, also something to consider. An escape board. The escape board currently doesn't really help too much. He already has a switch in his hand and the Lysander Labs in play. So Erika is the right play. Drawing a lot of cards now. So a very exciting turn for Philip. Will he be the first person in this tournament to take down Tord's new deck?
Yeah, able to guarantee that the Jirachi is coming out of the active position. Pretty good odds of drawing into what he needs now.
This is
This is like a really tense. Like, I like how he's slow rolling the shuffle. He's just like, it's like.
Well, you have to randomize properly, otherwise.
Yeah.
And of course now. You need to draw an important card. Actually, a lot of the more well-versed players actually shuffle more when they need to draw an important card, just to show your opponent like good faith.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything sketchy. And let's see, Erika going down. Is he be able to get the energy switch? He does have a normal energy, and he has a single custom catcher. So at least the attachment there, he can use switch. Actually, yeah, it doesn't really matter what he switches into since they both have free retreat. Then he can use the Dene to draw into more cards. Here we see the switch promoting Zero Aura. Let's see what goes down.
Well, if he hits enough Electro Powers, can he not take the... Hang on. That's 160
well, I mean...
base, so he'd have to hit all. No, he can't because there's one prize, so it's fine. He can't hit. He couldn't hit all 4 electro powers to take the KO with Zeraora.
Yeah.
Because this line, if he had all 4 available to him, would be a weird hedge your bets.
We see
the
the
attach. He's committed.
Does he go for it now? He can use.
I mean, why not take the 2-hit?
Oh, he did not. He did not take the risk.
He could have. He could have just gone all in on that. Maybe has he used all his E-switch? Let's have a look. So he's playing 2 copies of Energy Switch. And obviously he can't use the tag switch in this situation. So maybe he had used them earlier?
Well,
or discarded them?
Not necessarily. I mean, you always have to trade off what happens if I draw into nothing now. Then there is a D-Energy X on my bench. That might be a liability for me to lose the game. You see Tord, he has 3 prize cards. So like we said, he could use, if he gets Welder Psychic Energy, he can use the Deoxys to actually win the game. In theory, I'm not entirely sure if it's on the discard pile already.
I don't
that would
think
be
so.
kind of sad. I'm pretty sure. Can we get the scan for Deoxys Tech Team?
Yeah, it requires 6 energy for the.
Double check. Pretty sure you need 6 energy for the GX attack. Not entirely sure if it needs. Yeah, here it is. Cross Division. If you have 3 extra, it's 20 damage. So if Tord gets Welder's Psychic Energy, he can deal
the 200 damage and take out the 3.
If Absol actually has 100 HP, which I'm pretty sure about.
Yeah. If it's 110, then it's a completely different game.
Yeah, and also here Tord revealing his Greninja GX. With Greninja's GX attack, he could give the bench Pokemon, the Raichu, back into Philip's hand. But that would just mean Philip needs a switch.
Yeah, that'd be switch, attach,
win the game. However, if there is a Shidinya in there somewhere,
yeah, this is true.
He could outplay that, or actually he does it with the other. So, this is the. Let's see how one of the best players in the world is trying to maneuver this turn. We see it come down now. Actually, finally being able to discard the Latios. Not doing too much in this situation, I think. Looking at his new hand, he got an energy.
Got the psychic.
He wasn't able to get the full thing he needed to win. Now he's able to discard the Mewtwo, but also gets the basic water energy card. Pretty nice. So if he wants to, he can use Dark Mist. Active Zero can't attack again. So for Philip to win the game that way, oh yeah, here we see Greninja.
So it's like, go away.
So Tord Reklev now officially a Greninja player. He finally joined the rank as well, using Dark Mist to get rid of Philip's
double
board.
custom catcher.
And here we see double custom catcher.
Attached to the
Hooper.
Hooper.
Has the switch.
Is
the Hooper enough? Yeah, he's counting for it.
Yeah, it might be enough.
Oh yeah, all right. So
and there it is. So Philip is the first person to beat Tord in this tournament, and that was a very, very interesting last couple of turns.
Yeah, there was so much going on.
That was a lot.
Well, Philip showing again how you play this game. It's like he could have. A lot of people see the winning option and they go for the aggressive approach, but he knew, well, like, how do I lose here? How likely is it for me to draw my card? So, and well, he figured, well, it's very unlikely for me to draw my stuff, and it's even less likely for my opponent to get out of the situation I can put him into. It was very, yeah, like in theory, Tord could have won that next turn, but he would need like a very, very strong hand for that, which, yeah, he didn't have. So, I'm kind of unfortunate that the Greninja GX play didn't turn out that well.
Yeah.
And I also really wanted to ask Colt how often he actually used it so far, and how many games it won him. And I don't think we have any time left on the round now. So, well, we will decide. Yeah, we'll go on break.
Yeah, we'll have a quick break, and then we might be back. We don't know.
Yeah, see you in a bit.
See you in a bit.